What's up? What's up? What's up? It's your girl, Misfit Lawyer, coming at you one more again with a big what's up. How's everybody doing out there? If you can hear me, drop some chat, some words in the chat. I want to make sure you guys all hear me. Um, if not, if you can't hear me, also drop that in the chat. So, what's been going on with you guys this week? Again, this has been a very long week. A lot of stuff happening. All of the athletes are out training, getting ready for their next games. I've been thank you, Adrian. You guys can hear me. I don't think you heard the music to my video, so thanks for confirming that. So a lot of things going on. We got our athletes out training. As a matter of fact, our student athlete just contacted me. They just won a championship game. She plays soccer, and she's going to have to go to practice today, so she cannot join us today. She's going to come on next week, but that's fine because we have a very interesting guest today, and I think that we'll all have a lot to talk to him about when we get to speak with him. But before we get into our talk with our special guest, Reginald Armstrong, let's talk a little bit about what went on this weekend. Let's talk about what's good, what went on this weekend and last week. We cannot start this show without congratulating one of our student female ballers that we had on our show the week before last. Her name was Tori Robinson. She came on right before she was about to qualify for the Junior Olympics here in Illinois. I think she was in the heptathlon. I'm sorry. So she did qualify on Friday. She is going to the Junior Olympics. I posted her information on my Facebook and Instagram page. You guys reach out to her, let her know that we're supporting her, and just let her know how proud we are that she's going to be representing us in the state of Illinois in the Junior Olympics. We also want to talk about the script spelling bee where we have, I always feel like I'm going to pronounce her name wrong, but Zayla Avant-Garde. Okay, she won the script spelling bee, and she can also hoop. I mean, we have all of these videos going around with her dribbling 5 and 6 balls. Just her hands are amazing. A lot of you may not know, but football players also try to get work in and practice with basketballs to make sure that you have a feel for the ball, how to handle balls. It's a great way to condition your hands and be able to handle a ball, whether it's a round ball or a sphere ball like a football. So again, check her out. I've been posting her work on my Instagram and Facebook. Check her out. We also had the ESPYs happen this weekend. We had Paige Beckers give a shout out to all of the phenomenal Black women in the game when she gave her speech. We also had Naomi Osaka, who won the best athlete. She also gave a speech. She did very well. We're very proud of her as well. And then we also had something that just happened. I mean, it got so many emails and texts in regards to Candace Parker making history. And I think she's going to grace the cover of NBA 2K. So we're going to also have Reginald Armstrong give his thoughts on that and what he thinks about that. And before we get into our interview with him, again, I just want to make sure that you guys make sure you're following our student athletes, our ballers. They're looking to us to support them and make sure that we're pushing them to not only do well in their sport, but also educationally, and to make sure that that they're on the right path, no matter no matter what direction they go. We had a student baller that was doing well in track and field as well as basketball, and she decided that she wanted to go to college and work to be an activist. And that's fine. We still support that. This is all about female empowerment, and making sure that if there is a dream, that we're supporting and making sure that that we're doing everything we can do to help these young women's dreams come true. So with all that said, I'm going to bring on Mr. Reginald Armstrong. Reginald, are you there?
I am. How you doing? How's it going?
It's going great. How are you?
I'm awesome. I'm thankful and I'm blessed. So I'm happy to be here with you, Misfit. Let's
Uh,
make it happen.
Thank you. So I had this elaborate introduction written down. And so we
Okay.
got on our call, guys, and we did our prep call. And he's like, how about fess up? And then I always say what real players do. And that's interesting because at the end of the show, we always ask our guests. So if someone was to say, oh, I remember that Reginald Armstrong always said, and then they'll tell us that. So I guess this is something you lead up to. So tell us a little bit about what you do, what this fess up means as well.
Well, I'll say this. So in my current position, I work for the University of Phoenix. I'm a community relations executive. And basically all that means is I go to corporations and I talk to them about their employees going back to school or developing new skills so they can be higher promoted within the organization. Okay. That's what I do now. But before this pandemic hit, I worked for the Chicago Executive Club for almost 4.5 years. It's the oldest executive club based in Chicago, Madison and Michigan Avenue here. And basically, we put on glorified TED Talks, is what I like to say. We would bring in Melinda Gates, Michelle Obama, the CEO of Uber, the CEO of Yahoo, and we'd have these sit-downs, and we'd have 1,000 or 2,000 business corporations from around the city and surrounding suburbs, and they basically get these KPIs or these key nuggets of information to take back to their organizations so they can better help their organization. So, and by doing that, I've been able to connect and network with all of Chicago. I used to say before I came to Chicago, because I'm not originally from here, but I'm an adopted Chicagoan now because I've lived my entire adult life in Chicago. But by getting here and connecting with so many people, I know everybody from the guy that works at the janitor office at the United Center to the president of Aerial Capital. So it's just crazy how my life has transcended over the years. But I'm blessed, so I can't even complain.
So you're not from Chicago. I think I saw that you're from Natchitoches. You're from Natchitoches, Louisiana.
It's crazy. I can't even believe I'm going to give you a gold star because nobody pronounces that name right. Nobody.
I stayed in Louisiana I went to Southern. I was in Baton Rouge, so I know it's Natchitoches.
So you by the crib, then I got it.
I correct people too.
You by the crib, so then you know about the Natchitoches meat pies and the Battle of the Bands and the
Nachos.
Yeah, okay, all right, okay, I didn't know.
Nacho Cheeto, all of that, but So how did you? What's the connection from Natchitoches to Chicago?
It's crazy because obviously Natchitoches. A lot of people don't know Natchitoches, home of Northwestern State Demons, but also home of Joe Dumars, number 4, Detroit Pistons, right?
Yep.
Some of his crazy battles back in the day with MJ, and I've talked to him over the years. But I knew I wanted to move somewhere, right? So I got recruited by Grambling and Southern for a basketball scholarship. But, growing up in Louisiana, I wanted to get out of Louisiana. So I actually ended up taking a scholarship to Kentucky Union, Division I, NAIA, became an All-American there, first team, MVP, the yada, 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 and I had great success. But when I ended leaving, I played a little professional ball over in Portugal, and things didn't work out as well. I injured my ankle. I had to have surgery. That kind of ended my playing career professionally.
He froze a little bit. You froze on us, Reginald. Just a second, guys. Let me see. I can bring him on. Sorry, guys. We might be having something with this. That's funny. I always correct people because the spelling of the town that he's from it's very it's spelled NATCHITOD, something like that, but it's pronounced Natchitoches. So But they also have a city hall. There's a Natchez. That's not in Louisiana. That's in Texas, I think. But yeah, people they really just they cut that. They just ripped the name of that city out. But now we have Reginald back. So
I don't know what happened.
happened.
I'm thinking I'm talking to you, and then all of a sudden I don't see nothing. But it's all
so you
good.
left us on. You had the injury. You had an injury.
Yes,
when
you had an injury, and I actually flipped a coin. It was either Chicago or New York, to be quite honest. And actually, New York won initially, but then I got there and I found out how expensive it was to live in New York. And I had
so
to
you
make
took
a change.
the second most expensive place to go. Is that what
I had to pivot back to Chicago, and it's crazy because I didn't know anybody in Chicago. Not one family member, not a relative. I started off teaching. That was my first career, and I was coaching basketball, boys and girls, and at Ronald H. Brown on the south side of Chicago, 126th and Union. And then in my summers, I was bored. And I used to make my way down to the Lakeshore Athletic Club, right there on Stetson and Lake, right behind the Aon building. And I met Michael Jordan, Charles Oakley, Scottie Pippen. I mean, I met Brandon. I mean, so many college ball players.
So this was before they became famous. You met them before the Bulls and before.
Well, they was famous already then when they was playing in there. But again, because this was in, late 90s, early 2000s.
Okay.
So they're already famous. But the fact that they still came to that health club to play, I was in awe. I mean, I had never seen so many ball players. And then in 2006, when the WNBA had its inaugural season, I actually signed a contract to have them work out at Lakeshore. That's where they first worked out. Yes. Yeah. They worked out the Lakeshore Athletic Club. Michelle Williams sang the national anthem the opening night. She actually came to Lakeshore. And then John Rogers of Ariel Investments, who was a member there, he became one of the investors. So it was just a phenomenal opportunity. And that's really what got me,
You just got lucky. I don't like to say lucky. I don't like to say you were in the right places at the right time.
I was at the right place at the right time. And it elevated my career so much because they didn't even know I had the basketball experience, to be quite honest. They just thought I was a guy. And what's crazy, I stopped teaching full time and took a director of athletics job at Lakeshore. That's how my career just really elevated and went crazy. I had the NBA workout there. I had the WNBA. I had off-season workouts. I started training athletes. That's why I trained Penny Pritzker. Rose, her daughter. I had trained her there because she was a lab student. And then I got a bunch of the young ladies from lab, and I used to train them at the Lakeshore Athletic Club. So, like you say, I was at the right place at the right time, and man, it really elevated my career.
Okay, so let's talk about the coaching since, we have athletes that are watching this. Let's talk about your coaching. Now, I know you said that this was something that you kind of just picked up. So what are the techniques that you picked up when you're coaching?
I mean, to be honest, I've always had this philosophy that talent loses every time when they doesn't work hard, and hard work outdoes talent, right? So my philosophy and my technique has always been to push the athlete, to push you to the point of you might be a little bit uncomfortable, right? Whether that's suicides, whether that's 500 jump shots a day, right? Whether that's, coming in early, staying late, having the work ethic. I feel like some athletes of today, they want it, but they just kind of want it. You know what I mean? They don't know what it really takes to become a professional athlete. And I feel like, to me, the technique is just to push them to go higher and harder than they've ever thought they could.
And what are some of the things you said that you worked with like the Michael Jordans and, even the female NBA players? What are some of the things that you see the athletes of today do different than those guys did, and how do you think that will affect their future? Is it just
I think an old school mentality, that's what I like to call it. And don't get me wrong, I wouldn't say that none of the athletes of today have that. Obviously, you have some throwback players, but I think that it's less and less today, obviously, because of social media. It can make you be bigger than you really are so instant. It's like that microwave gratification, right? The oven takes a while to cook it up, right? It takes a few hours to cook that bird. but this microwave, I can cook it in 60 seconds, right? So I think a lot of today's athletes, they want the quick success. So guys like Michael Jordan, guys like Kobe Bryant, guys with that will and skill to continue developing their craft.
Right.
Those guys would fly back, had a bad game, and go shoot 500 or 1,000 shots the same night, 1 o'clock in the morning. You tell today's athlete that, they'll be looking at you like
they're tired.
You got 80 heads.
They're tired. They gotta go rest.
Yeah, I need some time. I gotta get on my cell phone. I gotta text my mom and them. I gotta let everybody know how many points I had. I gotta get on Facebook Live. It's just a whole nother ball game, you know.
Well, speaking of that, this is a good pivot. So you've been listening to all of the talk about NIL and all of that.
Of course.
What do you think about that? How do you think this is this a game changer, or is this a game? I don't want to say squasher, but game changer, or is it does it fuel what you just said, giving athletes, a false impression of what they may be based on how popular they are? Is this going to affect that?
Well, I mean, obviously, what NIL, right? Name, image, likeness, right? That's the official title of it, right? The official definition. For me, I really think that it has been about damn time. I'm gonna just be honest with you, right? Because you're a former athlete. I'm a former athlete. We used to put in work, effort, and energy, right, at the collegiate level. And yeah, our room and board was paid, and we got the little sandwich at the meal hall and all of that. But is it fair that the NCAA can make $1.1 billion in a year generated from sports? Is it fair that some of your highest paid coaches are actually in college? So I think that if a player can make money off of their name, their image, and their likeness, so be it. I am all favor for it, because remember that era of the Fab Five, right? Remember that era when baggy shorts, bald head, short socks. I will never forget the transition. And what I mean by that is, before Fab Five, a pair of shorts would be on the shelf, folded nice and neat. After Fab Five, they were long, they were huge, and they were on the mannequin in the window. Yeah. And it looked like a Michigan Fab Five player. So they to me, everybody was able to monetize that except for the actual athlete.
For the athlete,
It's about time. So I'm all in favor for it. It is a game changer, though. I will agree with you. And again, for a couple different reasons. One, let's talk about how many athletes will actually go pro, right? What, less than 1%, like 1.5%, according to data research, that will actually go pro. So my point of that is, this is your best shot of making any money. This is your best shot in college, because you're not going to go pro.
That's true. I didn't think about it in that way, but the way I'm thinking. So first, let me correct you. I play professional football right now.
That's okay.
I am not a former athlete. I'm playing for the WFLA, which is going to be the first football league to pay women to play. We're starting May 2022, so follow us. WFLA, Birmingham Bombshells. But I didn't think about it in that way. You're right. I thought the way I'm thinking about it is, in the past, it was the schools that were making the money off of these athletes. So now they're going to allow the athletes to do this. I'm afraid to see the rules and regulations that are formed around it. You know what I'm saying? Yes. Because they're going to start trying to compartmentalize these.
They will.
It's really going to end up, I don't want it to end up where, the school is making $5 million and the athlete's making $1 type thing.
Exactly. That's my exact point. I had looked up a research study that the top generating schools from athletes, actually Texas is number one.
I thought it was Alabama.
Alabama's in the top 5, but Texas actually is number one. 226 million generated from just sports. 226 million. I think Alabama was like 197, 198.
Yeah, the coaches pay for them is just extreme. And so
it's crazy.
Yeah.
And the athlete's not getting anything. And with all due respect, I've never seen a coach throw a touchdown, catch a touchdown, make a 3-pointer, or shoot a free throw. Just saying.
Right. So yeah, that's the only thing that's gonna bother me. That we're gonna start out, everything is gonna be great, but then as it grows, the rules and the regulations that they're gonna put around this I just don't want it want us to start something that in the end will turn out to be worse.
Yeah, you'll turn out taking advantage of all over again, right? It's kind of like when they first started doing the UCLA days, Ed O'Bannon and his brother. Remember when they took their image when they first started doing like the video games, right? They was first starting to do, and they took their image, they took their likeness, and they didn't benefit anything, and then they went through this long drawn out lawsuit. But why shouldn't they have gotten anything, right? You just talked about the coaches. I looked it up again. Coach Calipari on the basketball level, he's the highest paid collegiate coach. He makes $8 million a year. 8. Coach K, 7. And the girls coach, the women's coach, they're not, Gino makes about 2.5. Kim Mulkey makes 3. Don Staley makes right under 2. So you got these coaches making a ton of money, but they're making it off the sweat and effort of all of these athletes that they coach.
Where only 1 or 2 are going pro, just like you said.
So you're talking about 50 on a team, right? Over 4,000 athletes, and 1% of that is going pro. Come on. Come on. Yeah, that's not fair. That's not fair.
And another thing is, in this age of social media, what happens to all of the stuff that's out there already?
That's a great question.
I don't know.
And it's funny you mentioned that because somebody reached out to me and literally asked me because they played college years ago. Obviously, like example, Fab Five, because I'm trying to do some things with some of the former athletes. And that was the first question is, can we go back, take some of our images from college, some of our footage from college, and can we monetize that? You know what I mean? Is that fair?
Right. So I played for the Bliss for a minute, and I can't get any of that footage. That's theirs.
Exactly. And the great thing about the new NIL rule is it's across the board.
It's across the board. Yes, I love that.
And men. So
I love that. Yeah.
You, Paige Mueller, I call her Paige Buckets, right? Paige Buckets. She just signed $2 million deal. Yeah. She can now, for real, ladies ball too, for real, right? Because she just signed $2 million.
You have to tag her. Come on, Paige.
Oh my God. And now you got all of these ladies that can benefit from this. I think it's just great. I just think it's great.
Yeah.
And that's why I said, the coaches and the coaching staff. I think Don Staley, who's one of my favorite players, she was one of my favorite players of all time. Yeah. And now to be the coach of South Carolina, I'm a huge Aja Wilson fan. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just some really great ball players out there right now, man, on the female side.
Yeah, so let's talk about Candace Parker. Because I'm thinking that she is a GOAT. Now that's the GOAT right there. Yeah. She is doing her thing. Yeah. She is representing females, on the court. She broke some records. Was that 2 weeks ago? The most rebounds, the most something like that. And then she's on the cover of NBA 2K, right? Absolutely. And
first female athlete cover.
She's showing us she can show out on the court, and she's ready for the boardroom. Talk to me about that. And you've been close to these guys.
What can you not love about Candace? I've worked with the Chicago Sky before. I've done some marketing with them. I've done some corporate partnerships with them, and it's crazy you mentioned her because about 3 or 4 weeks ago, I was in a meeting with the premium sales team about taking advantage of Candace Parker being here. I don't think people really realize Candace Parker played at Naperville, left at 17, went off to college, right? Left college, went out to LA. This is her first time being home.
She's enjoying it, though, it seems.
In 17 years. In 17 years. So that opportunity for her, and you mentioned some key things. I love the way she carries herself. I love her reporting. I love her career after she's done. Even though I know she's not done yet. But she's just getting started. I think she's setting herself up right for the future.
Yes,
She's phenomenal. And the fact that she's now playing so close to home, and those kids that grew up watching her at Naperville High and surrounding Chicago can actually come over to Wintrust Arena and get a chance to see their idol play live and in person. That's just a rarity because you don't always get that opportunity.
No, and she's withstood all ages. She's a generational gold. I mean,
she is,
my niece
yes,
that is 15 will know Candace Parker. You know,
she a beast. We can bring the ball down, handle, shoot, pass.
Yeah.
We talking about Olympian,
all
we talking about MVP, and we talking about a WNBA champion. What else does she need to do? Right? What else?
Right. Okay. So tell us, Reginald, tell us about this Fess Up. I know everyone's sitting here saying, now what is FESUP? What is that?
There's a couple different levels to it, right? So when I was in my Lakeshore days, like I said, and running all these camps and clinics and having all these different ball players come into that one location. I miss Lakeshore, I do, because it gave me an opportunity to meet every ball player that was trying to make it, the ones that had make it, and the ones that was probably never gonna make it. But it gave me a perspective of all of those things. So by doing that, I started a tournament, a league, camps, clinics, and all this stuff.
Okay.
And it was one of those days where you're playing and you're having that heated confrontation on the court, and but you feeling it, you can't miss, right? Us ballers, we know what that feels like, right? When the basket is like the size of the ocean, and everything you throw at it is going in. And I literally said to somebody, "Fess up, you can't guard me." And again, if you think about the definition,
you can't stop me.
Yes.
You can't stop this receiver. I keep telling them, I'm gonna tap you. All that, you gotta catch me first.
Hey, you know what I'm saying? I'm the Fess Up. I'm the greatest. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, when you think about the word, Fess Up really means confess, right? Confess the truth. What I'm telling you is, this is my truth.
Right.
This is my truth, right? And then the slogan, what real players do, I believe that we all are players in the biggest game of all, the game of life, right? We all are in that game. Whether you want to be or not, you are in that game. So I kind of came up with that slogan. And Chris Brown, believe it or not, Brown, the artist, he loves to hoop. He loves to play ball. So when I used to run Lakeshore, not only did I have ball players coming, I used to have entertainers. So Brian McKnight played there multiple times. Leon from Waiting to Exhale and the 5 Heartbeats. But Chris Brown could actually ball. Like, I remember the ones that could actually ball and the ones that couldn't.
Don't out them on my live cast. Don't out them on my live cast.
They should have never had their gym shoes on, but you know, that's another story. They thought they could play, but actually Breezy could actually play, could handle, he could shoot a little bit, and we was hooping. And I had on a Fess Up t-shirt, and we took a photo, whatnot, and he liked the name, and then he started asking me for gear. So I actually started making t-shirts and hoodies and little things like that. So it was like my mantra. It was like my inner me, right? Like, man, I'm gonna fess up to it. And that means whatever it is in life you want to fess up to and accept that and make no excuses for it, because we're easy to make excuses, right?
Right.
Let's just fess up to it and make it happen. So that's kind of where it came from.
Just come clean. Just come clean and move on.
Hey, man, keep it moving. You got to keep it rolling.
If you can't catch me, you can't catch me. I'm just saying.
You can't catch me. Put the Heisman pose on them. Absolutely.
So now let's move. Let's go back to the coaching piece, because I'm interested in. Okay, so we started out talking about your technique. Now you coach both men and women, right? Male and female.
Absolutely.
Did your coaching technique change?
It did. I'll be honest, it did, and from a couple of different perspectives. I'll be honest, because obviously, when you're coaching a female athlete versus a male athlete, me being a male, I'm probably a little bit more in your face with the male player as I am in the female. Still giving the same tutelage and the same understanding, but my delivery and my technique is a little bit different. You know, I've had some really good female athletes that I've trained, but I've seen the progression, because I'm really offensive skill set minded, but I want you to have a defensive motor in you unlike no other, because I was always well known for being a two-way player. I always played great D. I was always first team all defense. My offense actually came as I got older. You know, I could always pass, I could always dribble, I could always get to the basket, but I developed my jump shot over a period of time, and then I got to a point where I felt like I could shoot from anywhere on the court. But that took some time. So from a coaching standpoint, I normally like to do a lot of skills and drills, a lot of cones, and a lot of repetition. I'm all about the repetition. I want you to do it till you do it perfect, so you can do it with your eyes closed. And every athlete you put through that, it's not going to always be well received on how hard you're pushing them, right? You're going to have some people that are going to be like, oh, I can't do it. And yes, you can, because I'm that type of person. I'm the type of person that even when you think you can't, you can. Because I'm going to push you until you can, right? Yeah, I'm going to keep, you know. So that's just how, that's just my technique. That's my philosophy. And that's just how I try to institute in the athlete, because I want you to be anywhere on the court and be comfortable that you can take the other opponent in front of you. Anywhere. Whether that's off the glass, whether that's a pull-up, whether that's a step back, whether that's a crossover, whether that's between the legs. I want you to attack the left or the right shoulder. I want you to put your right foot past their right foot and get to the basket. I'm going to teach you that way.
Right. So that's interesting, your take on that, because when we've talked to other coaches, they seem to think that the women are more aggressive than the men, and it's primarily because it's always a competition thing when they're on the court with the men. You know, it's always men versus women, and they become more competitive and more driven, you know, than the male counterpart. So
I think primarily with the athletes I work to, and I work from all the way from 6 years old all the way to 19, right? You know, and then some that are trying to go pro. But what I see is they're aggressive more on defense, in my opinion.
On defense, okay.
You know, than they are on offense. I feel like they lack some of the skills on offense, or they lack some of the confidence, I may say, on offense. But on defense, yes, I would agree. They are much, much more aggressive. They tend to foul a little bit more.
Yeah.
Weekend, you know what I mean? They don't really truly understand arm length away, centering on the center of their chest, and just keeping the player in between that zone, that frame of their defense. But I try to break that down, so because I don't want you to foul out. What player can score from the bench? Right. Can score from the bench. I need you in the game. So if you out there and you foul prone, you got 2 fouls or 3 fouls in the first or second quarter, now I got to sit you the rest of the game.
You're no good.
You know, good.
Doesn't matter how good you are.
No matter how good. No players ever score from the bench.
Yeah. So okay, so you've been coaching. You seem to be primarily you primarily worked with basketball players. I have a lot of students. I have a lot of students come on the show, and they're, of course, you know, they're high school, college, and they're multi-sports. You know, what are your thoughts on focusing on cross sports like basketball and volleyball, track and soccer? You know, do you think it's possible to master 2 sports? Are there 2 sports that complement each other, you think, best?
I didn't want to mention it, but I actually played football my whole life. I didn't start picking up a basketball until I was in the 8th or 9th grade, which is crazy. I was an all-world in football, all-world. Like some people still to this day feel like I was better in football than I was in basketball. And what's really insane is I played basketball, ran track, and played football. When I got to college, after playing 3 years, doing all this, my senior year, going into my senior, do you know the football coach offered me a full scholarship to come out and play defensive back and wide receiver? And I hadn't touched
those are my positions.
You know, and I hadn't touched the football since I was in the 10th grade.
Wow.
Because I made the decision, and what's really a funny story here. I've been playing football my whole life. In the 8th grade, going into my 9th grade year, a guy challenged me to a game of basketball, a sport that I had only saw but never played. Okay. But me being cocky and confident and arrogant, I said, man, come on, let's go. This kid whipped me so bad.
I knew you could say that.
I was crying like a baby going home. I told my mother that day I want a basketball. And she was like, what do you mean? You've been playing football since you was a little kid. Like, where's this come from? I want a basketball. I got so insanely obsessed with this kid beating me so bad. I started playing basketball from that day to the next summer, which was a full year of dedication. And I challenged him again, and then I beat him.
And you beat him.
And I beat him. And after that, football became a second note. It just became the back burner. Basketball started to be my thing. And then as I was, making my ranks and starting to make a little name for myself, there was a little competitive edge to me. Remember, I said Joe Dumars went to that same high school.
Right.
So here I am, a sophomore in high school, sitting on the bench, and it's Joe Dumars' day. I used to bring him back, and he would talk to them. And this is like, he's talking. I mean, this is Joe Dumars, right? Two-time NBA champion. Well, my coach used to let all the seniors play him 1-on-1 to 5, but you had to be a senior. So he beats all 3 seniors.
Of course. Why would they do that?
I'm sitting on the front row like this, like a eyes wide open. And he says, "You want to play, don't you?" And my coach says, "Nah, he only a sophomore." And Joe was like, "Nah, let him come." Now, this is in front of the whole school. I'm hustling harder than I've ever hustled in my life. And he tells me, man, you hustling real hard. You win this game, don't you? I got 2. He gets up 3-2. He gets up 4-2. I make a couple steals. It's tied 4. Get a lucky shot. Long story short, I win 5-4. Now, everybody say he let me win. Maybe
a win is a win. A win is a win.
And he literally shook my hand, and I'll never forget what he said. He said, basketball is going to take you somewhere. Be prepared for all the twists and turns.
Wow.
And I didn't know what he meant. I mean, I was 16 years old. I was so happy and excited, and going crazy. But he was right. Basketball, I didn't ultimately land in the NBA, but I've worked with Michael Jordan. For 4 years, I worked with the Michael Jordan fantasy camp. I was on the committee. I met all of your biggest coaches. I met UConn's coach. I met Tubby Smith. I met Bobby Huggins. I mean, I met 30 of the best coaches around the world. And it was all because basketball took me places and put me in circles that I would not have been in otherwise. So I was there very, very excited about that. Yeah. Okay,
so and now that you say that you've met all of these very successful coaches, is it one thing that you hear them say all the time that's constant?
Oh, absolutely. I would say 3 C's is what I take away from most coaches. And that is, 1, you got to be courageous. You got to have courage. Because sometimes you embark in an athlete, you're embarking on some skill sets. Say I'm working with an athlete, right? And I'm trying to teach them a between the legs crossover, right? And I need you to go game speed. But because they're not confident in it, they will not try it because they know they're going to lose the ball. They know they're going to lose the ball, right? Because they haven't perfected it. So you got to be courageous, right? That was the first C. And the second C was confidence. Be confident in your abilities, right? And then the third C was consistency. Be consistent in your efforts, right? It's easy to work out 4 days in a row, 5 days in a row. But will you keep working out 30 days later, 6 days later, 60 days later, 2 years later, if your dream has still been unfulfilled? See, there's no time stamp on success.
Right. That's true.
It comes when it comes, right? But you got to still put in the effort, the energy, and the work. And those coaches, that's all they kept saying is, if you, like Steve Harvey said one time, I promise you, if you keep working hard, you'll reach your goal. But I promise you, if you stop, it will never happen.
Yeah.
It'll never happen. So
I concur.
That was the greatest. That was one of the greatest opportunities. When I tell you 30, I'm talking Coach K, Coach Calipari, I'm talking about Roy Williams, I'm talking about Bobby Knight, I'm talking about literally the best of the best.
Wow.
I was star-eyed and starstruck.
I'm sure.
And
what do you say?
4 days. It was in Las Vegas. We were playing ball inside the Mirage Hotel. They built the courts inside. And literally all it was about, reaching the highest goal that you ever thought. And of course, they used Michael Jordan as the and by the way, it was $17,000 per player to be there. I was not there as a paid player. I was there as a assistant committee member. So, but it was 17,000. So it was for rich people, they could afford it.
Right.
But the opportunity was still great because the life lessons that they passed on was phenomenal. And some of these coaches, just to really sit down and pick their brain and ask them questions, was just amazing.
Yeah. All right. So and someone just popped the question up, and I was just about to ask you this. So you did play a little football. I don't know if you've heard about the WFLA, which is the Women's Football League. So what are your thoughts on women playing 11-on-11 tackle football professionally?
I mean, I think if you can do it, I am all for it. I'm a huge fan of opportunity. Whatever that opportunity presents itself, my only concern obviously would be the same concern I have for the men. Injury, right? Injury. And it could happen to men as well. It could happen to women. We know that. But obviously when you're playing a contact sport and you're talking about, being combative, that's the only thing, because obviously even it happens in men's sports too. It happened in obviously, football, it happens more often than any sport, right? Injuries. And you typically lose that player for the entire season. An ACL or an MCL or PCL or, whatever the case may be. And that would be my only big question mark is how do you combat that? I don't know if it's higher. I was taught even in basketball that ankle injuries happen more often with girls than it did guys. If you ever notice a basketball game, especially on the college level or the high school level, most of the time both ankles have an ankle brace. But in men, you'll only see, even if he has one ankle injury, he'll only have one brace on.
One brace,
You know what I mean? Yeah. So the injury part of it would be my biggest, hurdle. But I'm all for it.
But that's for both men and women.
Yeah, both. Yeah, I mean, it's not one-sided. No, it's not
one-sided. So, but what about equal pay? What do you think about, so I think the WNBA went through this thing where they were, it's always, women can't jump as high as men, women can't run as fast as men, we need to, their rim is lowered and, and football is 80 yards, all of this. What do you think that should affect pay or anything like that?
Well, first of all, kudos to the WNBA for finally raising the salary above board. Like, they did a phenomenal job. Healthcare, insurance. Like Kathy Engelbert, the new WNBA commissioner who used to be the CEO of Deloitte. So Deloitte used to be one of my clients. She did a phenomenal job, and the WNBA Players Committee coming together with that. So that was kudos, and it should have been done years ago.
Right.
Now, this gets a little sketchy, and I know some people out there may be a little upset with me. The equal pay part, I'm only going to associate it with the corporate sponsors. That's it.
Okay.
That's it. Okay.
I mean, you're not saying anything.
You know what I mean? Because I sell corporate sponsorships, and when I go sell an NBA game as opposed to a WNBA game, the interest is not the same. So the dollar amount is not the same. A box at the United Center for the Bulls for a season ticket will cost you $500,000. A box for the Chicago Sky WNBA for a whole season will cost you $100,000. Now, why? There's 21,000 every single night with the Bulls, right? And they're the third highest evaluated NBA team in the world, $5 billion, as opposed to the Sky, who I'm a big fan. The numbers don't stack up. So if you want to talk about equal pay, who's paying it? Where's the funds coming from, right?
Show me the money, right?
21,000 is in the Bulls arena, but only 3,000 is in the Sky arena, then where's the money coming from?
See, now you're talking my language, because the money there needs to be some women in those boardrooms, some women sitting there helping to write initiatives that can be trickled down. I mean, of course, the NBA is going to make money because they're officially sponsored by American Express, who makes sure that they send their people there and they go smooth. And, but who's at the table at these companies saying, hey, guys, take a look at Candace Parker,
Exactly. I agree with you. But, and most of these sponsors, let's be honest, all they're looking for is the ROI. Give me
Right.
the return on investment. That's all they care about, right?
Yes. But if they smack their name on it, it might just increase a little bit.
Well, and there's no promise. I'll be honest, because I got a guy, I won't say his name, but he did $1 million sponsorship with the Bears. Now, what that included was $250 a year for 4 straight years, right? That gave him a suite, that gave him a box, and he can invite clients or prospective clients all season long, right? Now, you do that in hopes of landing a deal, right? That's where the deals are done, right? In the suite boxes, you're watching the game, you're having food, you're drinking a beer, you're having a conversation about a deal, right? Well, in that 4 years, he had 0. He got 0 bites. Now, they dropped their sponsorship after that. I mean, because it was like, hey, I'm not going to do it. But somebody like AT&T, somebody like State Farm, some of these big Rocket Mortgage just signed an $8.6 million deal with Michigan State. They're going to sponsor all their boys basketball games and men football games. The reason why they're doing that is because they're hoping that in those meetings, in those boardroom meetings, I'm going to be able to strike a deal, because they're not paying that money just to pay it. Either they want eyes on their logo, awareness, right, from a marketing standpoint, or they want to crush a deal in the back room and come out and say, hey, we just signed a multi-million-dollar deal with so-and-so. So it is a vicious cycle. It goes both ways. And I think they need to be supported on both sides. It just comes down to the sponsor saying, will the same level of interest be there? That's all it is for them. If I sponsor the Bulls, I know I'm going to sell out every home game. There's not a question. If I sponsor the Sky, they're probably not going to sell out one time, just being honest.
But what's the formula? What's the recipe? You got these women that are out there doing it, like Candace Parker. There goes.
Yes.
How do you get people in that stadium?
I think it's a combination of things, to be quite honest. Let's look at, when you talk about the Bulls, look how many engaging opportunities are there with the players. You can do something with Zach LaVine. There's Zach LaVine night. There's pitcher night. There's jersey night. There's autograph signing night. There's BMO Harris handing out a cap or a hat. And that's why they do it. I think, to your point, where are the sponsors being aligned with Candace Parker? Because I agree with you. Candace Parker is a phenomenal endorsement opportunity waiting to happen. Yeah. Matter of fact, if she's listening, Candace, I'm trying to do a jersey deal with you. So let's make it happen. I got the people that buy it.
On Ladies Ball too, don't forget.
Ladies Ball too, all day, every day, and twice on Sundays. So all I need is the opportunity. So to your point, those sponsors, those corporate bigwigs, if you will, I think it takes the athlete and the sponsor and somebody else, the mediator, middleman, middlewoman, to bring that together in the middle and say, okay, I have a great marketing scheme, or I should say scheme, marketing opportunity for this athlete that aligns with your brand essence. They need to hear that. I just don't think enough people spend time developing that idea, because it's much easier to develop an idea around LeBron James, right? Or Kevin Durant than it is Candace Parker or, Asia Wilson, but it's timing also plays an effect.
Yeah, so that brings me to the next question then. We go back to this NIL, this stuff that's coming out in the NIL. How aggressive should these students be in trying to get endorsements? I know companies that are reaching out to like, for example, I have a really good friend that has a water bottling company, and he's, these athletes are going in, hey, endorsements, right? How aggressive should they be? Should they really be out there searching, or should they sit back and wait? There's no guidance for this.
There is no guidance because it's unprecedented. It's the first time in history. But to our point earlier, how many percentage go pro? Right? Let's go back to that 1 to 2%, right? So what that says is over 4,000 athletes are going to participate in collegiate sports, but only 1% is going to go pro. So that other 99% that won't go pro should be extremely aggressive. Extremely, because
everybody thinks they're going pro. Okay, come on now.
But we all drink fool's gold, right? But that doesn't necessarily mean it's true. If was a fifth, we'd all be drunk.
I'll be drunk.
But You know, I think some reality needs to be set in because obviously it's not gonna. There's so many jobs. WNBA, how many teams is it?
Yeah.
No. So
Yeah.
how many jobs is it? Even if
Yeah.
you go to the NBA, there's only 400 jobs every year. That's it.
Right.
400 jobs. That's it. There's 4,000 players.
I know.
So somebody's
It's
not going to get a
ridiculous.
job, right? So my point is, if you, and you know this, some college athletes had a better college career
Yeah.
and they never had pro, but they're still, they have legendary status.
Yeah.
You know, think about some of those Texas, Oklahoma,
Yeah.
Nebraska, old, I'm talking about 40,
Yeah.
50 year ago football players that led a game-winning drive down the
Right.
last seconds. I mean, they are legendary, right?
Mhm.
But they didn't
Mhm.
capitalize on it. They didn't make any
Right.
money off it. So
Yeah.
I could take somebody like Bobby Hurley. Bobby Hurley played for Duke. He played 4 years. They won a championship. Bobby Hurley never played in the NBA.
Right.
You
You're
know?
right.
So
You're
I
right.
think a college athlete now should be so aggressive because you know how some people say in high school you hit your peak. You
Yeah.
know, some people hit their peak in high school and some people hit their peak 10 years after high school. You know,
Yeah.
I know guys
Yeah.
that were guys and girls that were all Americans, you name it, in high school, but it didn't translate into college.
Into
Some of them
college.
didn't make
Yeah.
it. They ended up
Yeah.
quitting, to be quite honest. They dropped
Yeah.
out of school. They
Yeah.
back home working at the local grocery store. So my point is, if you're a college athlete and you're up here now and your brand, your image, your likeness is out there, it's time
Yeah.
to cash in now. The
Yeah.
time is now. Look
Yeah.
at
And it could
Master.
open other doors too, as you're saying. You don't
That's
necessarily
exactly
have to
what I'm
be on
saying.
the field or on the
That's
court.
exactly what I'm
Yeah.
saying. I know more former athletes that work for corporations because of those type of relationships that they built. You know, so I think now is the time. Let's be honest. And why shouldn't they? If the college coach is making $8 million, if the NCAA is making $1 billion, if the college itself goes to one ball game and they get 16 million, why shouldn't you get something?
Right.
Whatever that something is, it's up to you and your likeness. Because I'm sure Paige Buckets is getting it. How can Master P's son at a HBCU, Tennessee State, how can his son sign a $2 million deal and he haven't even been on the court
Right.
once yet? Because of his father and his relationships. Let's be
Yeah.
honest. You know, hey, my son can drink your bottled water. He can he can drink your smoothie. He can sell your insurance, whatever the case
Yeah.
may be. You know, so it's going to take some effort, some energy, but I really think that this is the time, really now more than ever.
Now more than ever. I agree. So I know we're getting close to the end. We've been having the conversation has been great. I haven't been taking any questions, so I do want to get this question in. Adrian Dunham wants to know, what about the celebrity effect? Like what we are seeing with HBCU football teams. If former football player coach, Adrian, I don't understand what your question is. She's well, what about the celebrity effect?
The celebrity effect is real. It is real because to that point, why do you think Master P's son signed a $2 million deal? Why do you think Deion Sanders' son signed a $2 million? I'm gonna give you something even better. I don't know if a lot of people are familiar with Juwan Howard's son, but he does play for the University of Michigan, right?
Yep.
But last year, when they went on their Final Four run, I think he got in one game.
Yeah.
This year, he just signed a $1.5 million endorsement deal.
Okay.
Now, let's be honest. He probably signed that because of the celebrity effect of his father, right?
Of his father, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Let's be honest. Yeah. So you got a lot of athletes that are going to be able to cash in only because of their father, mother, or that family. You know, not because of what they've proven yet on the collegiate level. Maybe they did it on the high school level. I'm not saying they didn't, but we all know if you're a true athlete, you know it doesn't always translate over. It just doesn't.
Right.
You know,
right.
It really doesn't. You know, it really doesn't.
Right. All right. So before you go, okay, then we have one more. Can that benefit women's football? I mean, that women's football, Reggie, you can answer that if you want, but I just think women's football right now is you know, it's green. It, you know, I'm not sure of the revenue that it,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
it's just too.
It's too new. It's too,
It's
you know,
too new. Yeah.
it's too new.
Yeah.
But you hit it on the head. Is the revenue there? You know,
Yeah.
if we put two teams on the opposite ends and we open up the stadium, will people show up? That's
Will
number
people
one.
come?
Number two, will they buy the
And we're
ticket?
not gonna have bikinis on. This
Yep.
is not lingerie.
Yeah, yeah. So
Which-
you're talking real football, right? Real football, tackle football. You
Right.
know, is there an interest there? You know, it's trial and error sometimes, right? Sometimes
Right.
you just got to test it. You just got to
Right.
test it. So you'll see over a period of time, but I do think that time will tell. Yeah, no, time
Okay.
will tell. Yeah, time will
All
tell.
right. So they want to hear your top three again. I always end with top three. I think you gave it. You want the consistency.
I want you to be courageous in whatever you
Courageous.
do. That's first. Be courageous. Take the chance. Don't be afraid. Nothing beats a failure but a try.
Right.
So be courageous. Second, be confident. Confidence happens by repetition. Keep putting in the time, effort, and energy, and you will become more confident. And last but not least, none of this happens. Dreams don't come true if you are not consistent. You have to be relentlessly consistent in your efforts. And no matter what you're trying to accomplish, it will
That's
happen.
right. No matter what.
No matter what. No matter
Yeah.
what, it will happen. It will happen. And if
Yeah,
it
as a
doesn't
matter of
happen,
fact, I think you can those 3 C's transfer to anything you're
anything,
doing. Yeah.
job, marriage,
Yeah.
life, you name
Yeah.
it. You have to do those 3 things because, again, we all get one life to lead.
That's it.
That's it.
That's
One life to lead. So let's
All
make it
right,
happen.
so tell them where to find you, Reginald. Tell them where to find you before we get off. How to follow you and
I'm on social media. I'm on Instagram, Reggie Arm. You know, I'm on Facebook, Reginald Armstrong. You know, I'm always got my hands on something. I got a show coming out. I just filmed with Antoine Walker last week called One Big Night. We're gonna talk about athletes and their one big shining moment and break it down. So I'm getting my hands in the entertainment circle, putting together some camps and clinics, and I got my clothing line, of course. And again, I would like to just say I'm the ultimate business connector. So, you know, I always say I can get to anybody. I promise you that. I just can't promise you can afford them. That's it.
right? Like, I'll get you there.
You might can't afford their price, but I can get to them.
I can lead you to the water.
I can lead you to the water, but I can't make him drink it. You know, your stomach might not be that big.
All right, Reginald. Thank you so much. This was such a great conversation, and I will stay in touch. We will make sure that everyone knows what you're doing. And thank you again. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And again, ladies ball too. Let's go.
Let's go. That's what's good.
Peace.
Bye, Reginald.
Peace.
All right, guys, that was Reginald Armstrong. What a great conversation. If you missed out on this live, you need to go on over to YouTube, watch this recording. Reginald was great. He dropped some nuggets on the NIL, what he's doing with the what he does with the NBA and the WNBA, just a wealth of knowledge. What a great conversation. Thank you all for hanging in there with me. And I want to make sure that you guys know next week we're going to have as our professional on our show a young lady named Juria Ace Arthur. Juria is she plays football with the WFLA. She plays for the Atlanta Amazons, a team that's owned by Deb Anthony, Waka Flocka's mother. You guys, you all know who she is, but she wrote a book called Girls Play Football Too. And it's a book about her daughter, who is actually a young lady that wants to play football. She tried out for her middle school team and she made it. And so she wrote a book, and it's going to be a part of a series. She's going to continue to write books as her daughter matriculates through school at playing this sport. And she's going to eventually, eventually her love of the game will lead her to being a top college recruit and making it to the WFLA, the Women's Professional Football League Association, ultimately proving that girls play football too. It's a really great book. I read it. It's a, of course it's a book for middle school kids, girls and boys, but it's a really good read. You also have like a coloring book. Oh, she has the coloring book right here. She has a glossary. This is Ace. She has her own athletic building, and she does some training in there herself. She's out in Conyers, Georgia. She also has here a glossary where she talks a little bit about some of the plays and the positions in football for some of the young women who are, or men as well, who are looking to play. You got your motion right, twins left, just some general stuff on the game itself. And it's really a good read. I really love this book. I bought one, and I'm going to add it to my bookshelf back here along with my book by the David Walker's daughter. These kids, they're just really, I'm just really proud of our scholars and our ballers. So keep it up, ladies. Looking forward to talking to you, Ace. And thank you all for joining Ladies Ball 2. That's a wrap.